Hey friends, it's Heather. Thank you for joining me today for another layout for My Creative Scrapbook. I have been guest designing for them the past couple of months and they have asked me to stay on through the year. So I will be creating layouts for the main kit for the year of 2019, so that's super exciting. So I was just showing you there's this ribbon that comes in the kit. It's kind of like burlap ribbon, but it's really stiff. It's stiffer than burlap, so I'm not sure how else to describe it, but received a pretty long strand of that, as well as another strand of this silver beads. I'm not sure how to describe it, but you'll see it here coming up shortly. And papers and embellishments from the Simple Stories Freeze and Season collection, which I think most of you have probably seen. And it's not the entire collection. You get the chipboard and the die cuts and the ribbon and textiles, and there's also in a stamp set, a snowman stamp set from Hampton Art, which I don't use on this layout. But so for the price of the kit, you're getting an enormous amount of product. The design team requirement is 4 layouts for the month, but you can certainly get a lot more out of it. The cut file that I am using is one of the free exclusive cut files available every month, which are created to coordinate with the kits, and they are free to anyone who wishes to download them. You just go to their website and click on the add-on tab, and they are free whether you're a subscriber or not. But if you wish to subscribe, at least head over and check out the kits that are available. There's 4 different options each month. Some of them are similar, but some of them are completely different in terms of style, so you might want to pick up more than one. And I believe that there is a 3 or 4 month minimum requirement depending on the kit, but it is so worth it because everything is delivered right to you. You don't have to worry about shopping for it, and who doesn't love Happy Mail, right? Okay, so that is the other piece of ribbon that I was talking about. I'm not sure what else to call it, but I really wanted to try and incorporate it, and you'll see how I do that here shortly. Okay, so my thought for this layout was just to place these fun little images in the center of these snowflakes, and there's a lot of cute little images in the die cut pack and the chipboard, but they were a little too big, so I pulled out this pattern paper from the collection that has lots of the same images, but they are smaller. So I took some time and fussy cut them out, which is not my favorite thing to do. I sometimes I think that I'm doing it and the thoughts going through my head are that it doesn't look very good. And then you just have to stop putting so much thought into it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And so once I get over that hurdle, I can move on. But I fussy cut several images out of this pattern paper. And once I had them all placed on there, I really wasn't crazy about it. I just was not loving the look of it, to be honest with you. It was a little too random for my taste. But I stuck with it, and I fussy cut out these little itty bitty tiny trees. But that's okay. I'll use them on another layout, so I'm not worried about it. But I wasn't doing anything else to the background, and so I thought these little images would bring in, some fun color. And the picture is of my daughter and her friend building a snowman on the, I think, one of 2 snows we got this winter. The kids are pretty disappointed about. But it's a cute photo, and I wasn't planning on adding any of the large chipboard pieces just because I thought the cut file took up a lot of space in the background on its own. So here I am taking all those little release papers off of the adhesive, the pop dots, which was a little time consuming, but it was worth it. I really wanted to add some dimension, and I thought about adding some paint or something to this cut file, but I really liked the look of the white cut file off the layered on top of that pink pattern paper. So I really didn't add any mixed media except for some splatters in the end, but that was it, which is a little unusual for me. But I realized once I added all those little images onto the background, it looked too busy and too random, and I just needed to simplify it. I think sometimes, especially when you get a new collection or a new kit, there's so many pieces that you want to use and incorporate. And for me, sometimes it's hard to narrow that down and edit a little bit. But if I'm not crazy about a layout, I will try and stick through it, but I don't necessarily want to waste the product or the pieces on a layout that I'm not crazy about. So I do strive to make something, each layout something that I'm in love with, and not always in love with everything, but I try, and sometimes I put too much thought or effort into it. I'm sure I'm not the only one. And sometimes the best layouts are just the simple, clean, not overthought out ones. So once I got my cut file down and my photo down, which I had to add an enormous amount of glue because nothing wanted to stick to that burlap ribbon. So I had double-sided tape and my Scotch quick dry glue in my fine line bottle. I had to sit there and press on a little bit because it did not want to stick down. So here I am adding a couple of embellishments around my photo, and then I am placing all those little images back in the center of the snowflakes. But I didn't glue them down right away because, like I said, I was not sold on this plan yet. And once I put those down, I decided to try and plan out my title, which took me a little bit of time also because I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to place the title, whether I would place it on top of my photo, which I thought was really cute, but then I was worried I was covering up too much of my photo. The other thought was to put it alongside the photo as opposed to on top, but I really didn't like the way that it looked. It seemed off balance to me for some reason. So here I'm just going through the die cuts and chipboard and moving these pieces around to see if I like them. There's a lot of cute little sentiment die cuts as well, like the I Love Winter and the Let It Snow. But I just wasn't crazy about it. So here shortly you will see me scrap this idea and I bring in the circle die cuts and chipboard. There's several of them that have little snowflakes in the center. There's also a pattern paper that also have that same image on it. And I use those in place of all the different images in the center of the snowflakes. I do like the way that the little mittens are sort of wrapped around the top left-hand corner of the photo. So that stays and that little banner stays. And I am sold on using the Let It Snow for my title. I just play around with the placement for quite some time. So here I am bringing in those other circle images. I was moving them, these other little pieces around and seeing if I could make it work. And it looked too random for me. I just couldn't make it work. I couldn't like it. Couldn't force myself to like it. So I just needed to simplify it. So I pulled in all these little circle pieces and I placed them randomly in terms of color and size. I layered some of them together. There's some smaller white snowflake shapes from the chipboard that I layer on top. I also broke out my Nuvo shimmer pen, which I am in love with. I will use that on every layout if I can. It does not work on chipboard though, which is a little disappointing, but It doesn't soak in. So don't try it. It just wastes your shimmer and your sparkle. I also use my Nuvo shimmer drops, not my shimmer drops, my Nuvo drops in white, and I add a dot to the center of those little snowflakes. And after I place my title down, that's pretty much it. I do add some splatters and some black shimmers. But I was really happy with the way that it turned out. It was a lot simpler than I had originally thought it would be. And it would have taken me a lot less time to finish this layout if I had started with that plan to begin with. But sometimes it is all about the process, right? I mean, I do enjoy the creating part too. So, I'm never disappointed with how long it takes. I did use the Nuvo, I'm not sure what you call it, the crystal glaze on some of my snowflake circle pieces as well as my title. If you don't have that, definitely get it. I mean, it adds so much dimension and interest to simple pieces, and I love the sheen and the shininess that it adds. So the other detail that you're seeing me do here is I am cutting up that silver strand of beads. They're not pearls and they're not smooth. So once I cut them, they weren't smooth, but once you put it on the layout, you can't really tell. So I broke out my tweezers and my glossy accents and just started placing them on every point of the snowflake. And this was definitely time consuming, but with glossy accents, they once it was dry, they didn't move, and I love the way that it looks. It's definitely a lot simpler in terms of like the final layout than I had originally planned to do, but I love the consistency, and I love the different textures of the different materials that you get in the kit. And I thought it was really fun. So those are the still shots. I hope you enjoyed watching and you found some inspiration of your own. Really appreciate you joining me. And head over to My Creative Scrapbook and check out their kits. You won't be disappointed. I'll be back soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.